Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I'm Pastor Joe Fox. Let's make sure we're rolling. We are. Thank you very much for watching and sharing the last video on the 10 lessons to be learned from the movie Blackout. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing it to other people so that, we can spread the word, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Enough of you said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do some more. That I'm going to go over the next 10 things, and I only wrote down 20, so it's also the last 10 lessons to be learned from the movie Blackout. All right, stay tuned, and there is no intro except for this. Hot steaming cup of joe. Yes, another homemade cookie. I made my wife give away most of 2 batches of cookies because cheeks are starting to fill out here a little bit. I know some of you hate the coffee slurping. You ever seen people from Northeast Asia eat hot noodles like ramen? Cools it down, makes it taste better. All right. Let's talk about the movie a little bit, because a couple people commented, hey, what movie is this? There's 15 movies with Blackout in the title, blah, blah, blah. There's a British movie. Yeah, I saw that British movie too. No, the one I was watching wasn't British. It was made in 2014. You can find it on Google. Just type in The Blackout. 2014. It's set in New England somewhere. There's 4 college-age backpackers, a survivalist, a couple who's expecting. They all kind of get thrown together in a scenario where the power goes out. That's the movie I'm talking about. That's one. Number 2, I'm not recommending the movie as, a training flick. It's mildly amusing, if you're bored, and I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic movies, but that's just me. The lessons that I derived from the movie probably say more about me than the movie. So if you watch the movie thinking this stuff's going to jump out at you, you might be disappointed. You might not, you might dig it. But I was just watching the movie, and I thought of things when I saw it. It spurred thought either by what the people were doing or by what they were not doing that they probably should have been doing. And I'm like, oh, there's something, there's something, there's something. And I don't even know why I started making the list in the first place, but pretty soon I had a lot, and I thought, maybe I'll do a video on this. So there you go. That's the movie. That was kind of my thought process. We already went over the first 10. Let's look at the last 10 lessons that I got, that I pulled from watching the movie. I'm watching the movie and an idea occurs, right? And so the first one, number 11, and if I was really high speed, I'd have it flash up, right there. When it's time to shoot, shoot. It happens a lot in movies. You see people pull the gun out and get away, and the person keeps getting closer and closer and closer and closer. I mean it, I'll shoot, and take the gun. Right. There's probably a lot of Hollywood in that just to increase the tension in the movie. But I do know of people who assume that merely presenting a firearm will stop something, and they go into it with the attitude of that's what they're gonna do. Your attitude should be, honestly, if I have to pull this gun out, it's because I'm gonna use it, and the bad guy is gonna have to take some immediate drastic action to stop what I'm planning on doing, because I've already decided that this is a situation that needs to be dealt with thusly, right? But I see too many people say, yeah, just the presence of a gun can stop a crime. It can, and that's cool if it does. But if your attitude is, I'm going to pull my gun out and they're going to run away, you could end up getting a chest full of lead, right? Another example of that, people talk about, and I teach a defensive shotgun course, and people talk about, yeah, just the sound of racking around in the chamber in the middle of the night will send that punk scurrying away, or the guy who's robbing your house or whatever. Yeah, when you go right? Well, when you go he could turn around and fire 3 rounds at you and kill you before you even load your shotgun, because he's attuned and quick and ready to shoot, whereas you are not. So when it's time to shoot, shoot. I tell people, if the criminal has really good hearing, he may hear the safety coming off my shotgun. And actually, that was then. I now use an M4, but that's another story for another day. So when it's time to shoot, shoot. This thing is not a magic wand. Your firearm is not going to make the bad guys quake in fear, pee their pants, and fall down to the ground going, no, 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 please don't shoot me. It's probably, if they're real criminals, going to spur a fight response, right? Charge. So be ready to use it when you pull it out. Number 12, share what you can. You know, it's cool to share what you have when you can with people. And, you know, there's a Bible verse about how giving to people, and I'm paraphrasing grossly here, but giving to people without thought of reward is a higher thing to do than giving to somebody who's going to reward you back, right? You know, you go help the rich guy in town change his tire because maybe he'll square you away later. That's not the same thing as helping that, you know, homeless guy move his tent or set up his tent or something because it's fixing to rain. Right? He can't help you back. That's real grace and giving and love. And you have stuff you can share. You really do. And in a survival situation, you will have stuff you can share. Maybe it's food, maybe it's water, maybe it's a couple eggs, maybe it's time, maybe it's physical effort, maybe it's, you know, whatever. Am I telling you to open up your doors to everybody? I am not. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot of Christians whose heart is, it's not in the right place because what they're doing is wrong, but they think it's in the right place. And they're like, well, I'm just going to give the food away to whoever needs it. Well, then your little girl is going to starve to death because you gave your food away to a stranger. And so there becomes a balancing act, right? Which would make this a really long video if I went into that. But then there's also the people who, you know, you could share something with somebody and help them out, you know, get them out of a little bit of misery and let them, you know, do better. I don't believe in karma, man, but some of you do, and it's like good karma, right? Hey, bless others and you'll be blessed, right? And so there's that. So it's cool to share when you can. You got to kind of know your limits, though, and you should probably have your limits preset also, so you don't overshare. Okay. 13 and 14 go close together, and then we're going to go on a little tangent. In the movie, the survivalist pulls out these pre-cut plywood or OSB panels. OSB, for those of you who don't know, is kind of like plywood. You get it in a hardware store in 4x8 foot sheets. And he had them pre-cut to fit over his windows. And they had little cutouts in them so he could still see through. But that way, if people threw rocks or Molotov cocktails or whatever at his house, you know, it wouldn't go through into the house. They don't stop bullets, but they do stop, you know, a lot of projectiles, right? That's a good thing to have. Example, people in Hurricane Alley. Do they call it that? They call it Tornado Alley, up through the country, or as you're looking at it this way, right? But I remember reading a story once. A hurricane was coming, and I was in the process of building an addition onto the barn here at High Prairie Acres, and OSB shot up in price at the local Home Depot or Lowe's, whatever we were shopping at. And it was because this hurricane was going on, and all the OSB and plywood was going down to, I don't know if it was New Orleans or Mississippi or Florida or wherever, but it was going down there for house repairs. And so, you know, supply and demand, right? So OSB just skyrocketed in price. And that kind of irritated me because, you know, I'd put off buying it, right? And then I read how every year this happens during hurricane season. People buy this OSB, they nail it up or screw it up on their house to cover their windows because, you know, rocks and tree limbs and everything blowing around, and then they throw it away. Why don't they just save it in the garage? You know, write northwest window, southwest window on it, a big Sharpie or something, and but they don't, because we're a disposable society in America. We throw everything away. You know, we don't just throw our paper cups and our paper bags away. We throw our kids away to daycare and our old people away to, you know, old folks' homes. And I mean, we're just a disposable society. Your DVD player breaks, throw it away, get a new one. You need a Blu-ray anyway, right? Oh man, starting too early, too much caffeine. So having pre-cut OSB for your windows is a cool thing. And then on the heels of that is, and I didn't know this till I lived off grid. Those Drills, the battery-powered drills that, you know, you put a screwdriver bit in and you have a whole box of screws and you can just screw things. Those things rock. And spending more money is good. You know, they make these really little ones that are like hammer drills. And I'm not a construction guy, I just use construction tools. But they're little. I don't have one of these yet. They're kind of expensive, and they have more power on the when they put the screws in. But even just a regular battery-powered electric drill with screwdriver bits and then a box of screws, charged, already have the thing charged. You can't really keep them out in your cold garage. You're going to have to keep it in your house. But having one around when you need it is cool. And at Shofar Mountain, we have a brother who keeps his set charged on solar, so it's always ready to go. And it's just amazing the amount of times we need to use that drill just for a little thing here or there, and it makes life so much easier. And so if all of a sudden we have to board up the windows, you know, you hold the OSB up, that's the technical term, and you get those things put up. Other people take these plywood and OSB pieces that are going over the windows, and they hook little lag bolts or hook things, you know, a little eye bolt with a hook. They set it up differently so you can just put it up there and hook it up. You don't have to screw it up. That's an alternative too for people if you're getting a little bit more advanced in that. And then, not related to the movie, but it was kind of in the same thread, and so I made some notes on that. It took me a long time as a suburban homeowner. Matter of fact, I was no longer in the suburbs when I discovered it, but I wish I had, so maybe some of you can learn about this. They sell this stuff at like Home Depot and Lowe's. It's a big black roll. You know, it's about, I don't know, 3.5 feet long. It's about this big around. It's tar paper. They sell it where they sell the shingles and everything. That stuff is amazing. You've heard the phrase tar paper shack? Yeah, you could make, you know, a frame structure and put tar paper on it and it would last a while, right? Especially depending on how you hook the tar paper on. It is a great thing to repair your house with in an emergency when you can't call a contractor because there's chaos in the land. Whether it was a hailstorm that just wiped out your whole region, you know, or whatever, and now you have a hole in your roof or in your window or in your wall. And it's not very expensive, a big roll of tar paper. And they call it roofing felt also. And they make it in a couple different weights. The heavier the better, honestly. Okay, so how do you hook it up? You know, you just cut it with a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife is what I use, but you can cut it with anything. You know, I've cut it with a pocket knife before. And then you just put it over the hole that you want to cover, and you can take a regular, do you have a staple gun? You should have a staple gun. You're shooting, right? What do you put your targets up with? Come on. But what works even better than a staple gun? It's called a hammer stapler, and it's about this long. It looks like if you take one of those desktop staplers and unfold it, it looks kind of like that with a handle down here, and you slap it like a hammer, pow, pow, and every time a staple goes in. They sell those at your Home Depot too, and that's really easy to put stuff up with. It works good on the range too. A hammer stapler. They're not very expensive, so if you get yourself some tar paper, some staples, staple guns of one kind or another, and some heavy-duty plastic, you know, like the 4 mil, 5 mil, 6 mil, 3 mil if you have to, black and clear. Because a window could break that you want light to come through, so you can go on the outside and just staple plastic over it real quick until we get it fixed. So, you know, emergency home repair stuff. And when you buy these things, they come in rolls, so you can store it in the corner of your pantry or your garage or whatever. They're kind of out of the way. So that's just an idea for you to have that stuff on hand to fix big holes in your structure that suddenly appear. Not from the movie, but it spurred off on me. Number 15. 4x4 diesel pickup trucks are cool. Pickup trucks are cool to have, but 4x4 pickup trucks are better to have. And when it's diesel, it just sounds cool. Whoa, 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 whoa. You don't need to have the thing lifted 6 inches and put, you know, $1,000 tires on it and all that kind of thing. But a pickup truck is an amazing tool, and if you get one in 4-wheel drive, it's even more amazing. We have a couple pickup trucks at Shofar Mountain. The one we use the most is the 2-wheel drive one, quite frankly. And it works fine for most things. But a pickup truck is so useful. You can throw so much stuff in it. You can throw so many people in it if you have to. If you can buy, you know, or find free on Craigslist to cheap, 150, 200 bucks, one of those fiberglass caps that just goes over the top of it. You have House on Wheels if you have to. You know, you can throw everything in it to evac. You can throw your animals in it. You can throw your mulch in it. Yada yada yada. Pickup trucks are cool, and when it's time to go somewhere with a lot of stuff or a lot of people, they work great. And so, you know, when you're getting ready to buy that next vehicle, really consider a pickup truck. And tonneau covers, for those of you who don't know, that's like this hard plastic thing that fits over the whole bed. Sometimes they fold up a little bit, but it fits over the bed and you lift it up like a trunk when you're looking in your pickup bed. Throw that thing away, man. Don't pay extra money for that. That really hurts the usefulness of your pickup truck. Just get a pickup truck. Diesel 4x4 would be really cool. I just liked it at that point when I was watching the movie. So there's one. 16, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire your weapon. It takes no time to go from, can you see that, from here to there. No problem. Don't be walking around with your finger on the trigger. This is firearms training 101, right? But here's the reality, because a lot of people are new to prepping. I did something on, you know, people who aren't normally into guns, coming into guns. I don't want to use terms right now. And so a lot of people are probably going to be buying firearms, and they watch movies, and so they think when they hear a noise they better get ready to shoot, and they'll put their finger on the trigger and they'll go walking around like Charlie's Angels, right? But if you get scared, startled, you come around a corner and your 3-year-old girl sees you and screams, "Ah!" It startles you. Startle reflex, your hands tighten, and your hand tightens on the trigger and you just shot somebody you didn't want to shoot. Keep your finger off the trigger. It takes no time to go like that and shoot. And that's a training thing. But wow, I see it a lot. I see it on the range. It's one of the things I tell my assistant instructors to look for. Make sure those fingers are off the trigger until the people are ready to shoot. So keep your finger off the trigger. There was that going on in the movie. 17 is really important. How many of y'all been in a gunfight? How many of you been shot at? I have, Pastor Joe. Okay. Most of you have not. The good thing is most of you will not, right? Hopefully. But here's something you should probably practice. You know how you see people, man, I'm going to go on a tangent again. Here we go. You see people on the range and they're like, ready, shoot. That's their check, right? You know, they just, and they're not even looking. They're like, you can hold something in front of their face. They're not even seeing. They're just turning their head. Or they do the big check. What about the guys all around you, behind you? Another technique for another time. But one of the things you need to do after the fight is over and you have reholstered is check your body. Almost hurt the cookies. Check your body with your hands. Rub your hands over your body. Rub it over an arm, look at it. Rub it over an arm, look at it. Rub it down your belly, look at it. Rub it down your back, look at it. Rub it on your legs, look at it. Each time you rub, look at it. Train yourself now so it just becomes one of those gross motor skills, you know, just like a lot of shooters go, that's their gross motor skill, right? Train yourself to check your body after you reholster, because in a fight, a lot of times you don't even know you've been hit. You don't know you've been shot. You don't know stabbing too. You get in a fist fight, do the same thing. Have a buddy check you. If your buddy has been in an armed engagement like that, check your buddy. Look at him or her and make sure they're not bleeding out from a wound they don't even feel, because adrenaline is an amazing thing. And a lot of people don't feel the blows, the cuts, the shots until after the fact when the adrenaline starts wearing off. And by then you could have bled out, right? And so train yourself to check yourself for blood. Now don't rub yourself all over your body, you know, with your hands, and then look at your hands. Where was the blood coming from? Rub, look, rub, look, rub, look. You're looking for red, right? And so do that. Check yourself after a gunfight. Check your buddy after a gunfight or a knife fight or a fist fight, because you know most knife fights aren't like the movies. Come on, let's go. Most knife fights start out as a fist fight, and all of a sudden somebody starts hitting really hard. And after the fact, people figure out, oh, he wasn't hitting me hard, he was cutting me every time. Boom, boom. So check. And then go back to the lesson where I said learn first aid, right? 18. Humor under stress. How do you handle stress? We talked about stress earlier. How do you handle stress? You've heard that phrase, probably, whistling past the graveyard, because you're scared but you're trying to maintain a happy attitude. A lot of people deal with stress with humor. Firefighters, paramedics, EMTs have the grossest, weirdest humor. It's a coping mechanism. It's how they deal with horrible things, and they, if you can't laugh, you're gonna cry. You don't need to be crying when you need to be dealing, right? But it's the same thing. You see it in special operations units. You see it in the infantry units. You might see it in other units too. I just didn't get to play with them. When stressful situations happen, people get a sense of humor. You should cultivate that. When things get going horribly tight, that's not the time to just be like, hey. And I guess, I don't know how you cultivate that except to start dealing with stress in a positive way and look for the bright side of things. PMA, right? Positive mental attitude. Maybe hang out with people. I used to tell my wife when I was first in Special Forces, Peacetime Army, when I first went in, most interesting group of guys. When I was brand new, initial impressions, I'm coming in, I'm the new guy, right? Steely-eyed, deadly, capable killers. I mean, amazingly competent men, right? And they had just the silliest sense of humor. Would you stop touching me? And at the same time, they could switch in an instant to, let's go do this deed and get this thing done. And it's a stress coping mechanism, cultivating humor during stress. So work on that. Work on trying to see the happy side of things, the macabre side of things. 19. This is important. This is important for everything. Security, security, security. You must always maintain security. Again, part of this is a Hollywood thing to try, because they actually increase tension by, it's the roller coaster ride of tension in a horror movie. It's like the bad guy's dead and it's like, oh, thank God. Oh, I missed you so. And then he sits up, right? Hey, always have security. You're never safe in an unsafe world, right? And so, examples. And I cannot remember, because it's been 2 days now, the exact thing that spurred this, but it doesn't matter. Geese in a field. You have geese on a golf course around you. You'll notice that they're all feeding. They're all down there eating the grass. There'll be a couple geese that are standing up, the sentinel geese, that are looking. Always looking. The movie Red Dawn, the first one, I don't remember if they did this in the second one or not, but in the first one, they had some good technical advice in that movie. They show the kids out on this big prairie thing. I don't know if they were playing football or eating or what they were doing, but they're kind of out in a relaxed environment. And there's one kid just standing there with his AK, standing up because you can see further in that case, in that situation, looking. If you look at pictures of good, meaning competent guerrilla fighters, there's always somebody on security. You're having the big meeting and everyone's sitting down eating goat and rice or, naan bread or whatever. And there'll always be a couple guys over there, and over there. Just their job is to stand and watch. You should always have security. Never let your guard down. If you're with a little group and you go into a bigger group, you better still pull security until you figure out what's going on. Maintain a security posture. Never let your guard down, because remember when I said in the last video, when things go bad, they can do so quickly. Yeah, it's nice to have early warning, and that's what security does. So security, security, security. Always think security. Never let your guard down. Never all sleep at once, which is a problem a lot of people have being the lone wolf survivalist. I don't know what your plan is for sleeping. I know you don't have one. You may think you do. My dogs will wake me up. Somebody needs to be awake all the time, and that affects work schedules, and that takes people, quite frankly. And that's going back to a lesson from before, but you got to maintain security. And then the final point, number 20, dun dun dun, do not defend your house from your house. Most houses are not bulletproof. When you're in your house, you are unable to maneuver very well. The enemy can surround you, and now what? And that's a bad thing. If you're going to defend your house, do it from outside the house. I have a phrase that I coined: you don't defend your house from your mailbox. See, that's even pushing out to the limits of your yard. You have to have a defensive plan that is out. If this is the important thing, let's say the house right now, well then you need to defend it out here. You want to fight out here, not back here where everything that's precious to you, your little girl, your little boy, your wife, your, you know, whatever, grandma, your food storage, you know, whatever is there. Bullets are flying through there. Molotov cocktails are coming in there. It's going to catch on fire. They're going to throw mortars on it. You know, drones are going to hit it. I don't know. You don't fight there. You got to fight out there, which is another reason you can't be a lone wolf and selfish, because sometimes when the 44th Motorized Rifle Regiment from China is coming into your county and you're like, well, it looks like they're going to miss my farm. Yeah, maybe not. But the time to fight them is not when they're driving through your barbed wire fence, right? So you don't defend your house from your house. I got some comments last time that people were interested in this notebook that we do. And people are like, yeah, I'd like to know how to defend my home and blah, blah. Secure my home. Securing your home is fine, but you don't want to defend your home when the battle's coming from your home. There's subtleties there. Obviously, you sleep in your bed in your home, and if somebody kicks your front door, I've got a series of videos on that too, you have to react. But when it's a situation like this survival, end of the world, SHTF kind of thing, and there's bad guys running around, it's not like the cowboy movies, guys. You don't sit there at the window looking through your little vision port of your OSB, prepared to repel invaders. You got to push out, set up your OPs, your LPs, that kind of thing out there. And again, that gets into a whole lot of training, some of which we're going to cover at the upcoming patrolling course in March, which we still have, I don't know, without counting off the top of my head, about 8 openings, I think, to that. And so if you're interested in that course, we're covering some of that stuff, you know, the whole concept of pushing out beyond where you are to see what's going on and deal with things at that course. So that's it. Those are the lessons that I derived from the movie. Again, it's not like I recommend it as a training flick or anything, but you know, it spurs thought, right? And it should spur thought for you. It's kind of, my brain is always working on the what if. You know, I walk around, I'm looking at my dog right now outside the sliding glass door, and I think, well, what if, you know, a bigger dog came and just attacked my dog right there? What would I do? I'm constantly asking myself, what if? And so when I watch a movie that's, you know, a survival movie, you know, a post-apocalyptic type movie, my brain just kind of goes into overdrive. Well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And if you do that and think about it, if you have to, write it down and then take action, because some of those things will directly apply to you. And the ones that do, act on. The ones that don't, file it away, right? Chew the bones, spit out, chew the bones, spit out the meat. Chew the meat, spit out the bones, take what you can use, discard the rest. You do the best you can with what you got where you are, right? I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching. If you like it, share, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I will see you out there.